And Dr. Eaton mentioned earlier how proud we are of our alumni. You know, I was thinking last night about this. You know, if you're a painter and you're doing the best you can as a painter, at the end of the day, you have a beautiful painting to look at, to know that you did a good job. If you're an architect and you go to school to become an architect and you do a great job, at the end of some process, you can look up at a building and know that you did a great job, and that's yours. Well, if you're a college, the number one thing you have to point to know that the people before you that worked at that college did a great job is our alumni. You are the most important resource Weatherford College has, and we're about to celebrate 4 outstanding alumni with these annual awards, and I'm really excited to do that. They are all very special to us. We're going to start with our Distinguished Alumnus Award. If you look in your program, the back of the program is a list of all of our past Distinguished Alumni Award winners. We started this in 1994, and speaking of distinguished, it's a very distinguished group of people. And I would like to ask the following people to stand up, and we will applaud after I list them. Mrs. Dorothy Doss, Mr. Tom Pritchard, Mr. Pat Hamilton, Mr. John Vandegrift, Mr. Arnold Pitchford, Mr. Kenton Harvey, and Mr. Gary Snow. These are past winners of our Distinguished Alumnus Award. Thank you. And we're going to start with the introduction of Dr. Bill Knight. And to do that, we've asked the chairman of the Board of Trustees of Weatherford College to come forward. Please welcome Mr. Frank Martin.
I first got acquainted with Dr. Knight about this time last year, I think it was, when we started doing some research. And I think a lot of you are familiar with the story of First Lieutenant Jack Knight, who won the Medal of Honor during World War II. He was a graduate of Weatherford College and mentioned it several times in his letters back from the front as he went through the war. A little bit about the Knight family. They came from a pioneering family here back in the 1800s. And you can tell a lot in the foreword of Dr. Knight's book when he talks about that his mom and daddy, Roy and Martha, came from large pioneering families in which the physical and mental toughness was required and accepted without question as a qualification for survival out here on the plain. There were 7 sons and 1 daughter. All 7 sons went in the military. 2 of them lost their lives in 2 different wars. The youngest one was June, and affectionately, as you know in Texas, she was always referred to as Junebug, and she is here with her brother today, Bill. Dr. Knight states, "Our parents knew the value of an education. Although neither of them received a high school education, their children would, despite extreme hardship." And they lived out west of town, out in the area out there, not too far from Fort Walters, and it was a hardscrabble type life. All the boys worked, the whole family did, all the time in order to make a living for everyone. Despite extreme hardship, the 3 oldest sons attended Weatherford College during the late years of the Depression. In September 1936, within a month of the birth of Junebug, the oldest, Jack, started his college at Weatherford at the age of 19. And there's a lot of interesting records there associated, and we've set up an archive. We've got the awards and mementos of the family that have been contributed. Dr. Knight graduated from Weatherford College in 1957. He married his bride, also a WC graduate, in 1958. He had a Bachelor's of Science from North Texas and a Master of Science from North Texas, 1958 and 1961 respectively. He earned a PhD from East Texas in 1970. They have 3 children, William, Roland, and Joseph. He was a teacher at Weatherford Junior High, principal of Millsap High School, superintendent at Saltillo ISD, a graduate assistant and a graduate student and assistant instructor at East Texas State, now A&M Commerce, and superintendent at Mineola ISD. He's been involved in all kinds of things involving civic, community, and youth projects. Baseball coach, board of directors for baseball, Mineola Rotary Club, assisted his wife Shirlene coaching Special Olympics for over 25 years. Church choir, taught Sunday school. He was a trustee for Mineola School. Superintendent of the Year for Region 7 Education Service and nominee for Texas Superintendent of the Year in 1988. As part of his loyalty and service to Weatherford College, he has established the Jack Knight Scholarship Fund in honor of his brother. He has written a book that's available to everyone. It is now available on Amazon.com, and he is donating part of those proceeds back to Weatherford College for every book that he sells. And he's already on a good track to sell some stuff and donate it back. One interesting story I looked at in your book was the time that you and your brother Junior, towards the end of the war, were coming home, and you found a peach orchard where all the peaches had been picked out of it. Almost all of them. So they thought, man, this is great. And they cleaned themselves up. They stuffed themselves with peaches and took a whole bunch more back to Mom and Daddy. And boy, they got caught right away. Mom and Dad said, where'd you get these peaches? We got it from Mrs. McDonald's. You didn't know whose orchard it was, but your parents knew it was Mrs. McDonald, who was the principal of the school out there in Millsack. So the next morning they had to go back in there and confess to the principal that they had taken their peaches. And she was very nice, as you would expect, and said, well, thank you very much. You guys won't go do that again without asking permission, will you? And they, after getting your words butt chewed out by their parents, no ma'am, we won't do that. And he said years later, he was at a reunion, and he ran into Ms. McDonald, and he reminded her of that story. And she says, when that happened, I knew that everything was going to turn out all right. I knew because of your parents and how the Knight family kids were going to turn out to be super people. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Bill Knight.
Weatheford College has certainly been good to me. I go back a long way. Not take 269, but a long way. It was started in 1951. Well, really, the influence of Weatheford College started in 1936 when Jack came over here. I was about 3 years old, I suppose. I don't remember any details from that time, but I do remember as the years progressed, the mention that my older brothers attended Weatherford College, and those seeds were planted. And as they progressed through the rest of the 30s and the Depression and the war, and it was just assumed that I would go to college. And, I was 17 when I finished college in 51. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I did. I thought about going to A&M because that was kind of the college of dreams for our family. And I came home one day and during that spring or summer, and Daddy was sitting on the porch with this fellow. And I walked up, and there was Vernon Parrott sitting there talking to my daddy. And I didn't know who he was or where he came from, but it turned out he was the new president of Weatheford College after it changed to Parker County University. That's, you remember us saying, calling it Parker County University? So he talked to my daddy, he had already been talking to him, and then he talked to me. Well, I ended up coming to Weatheford College in the fall of 51, and I haven't regretted it. I went my first year here, and then I kind of wandered in the wilderness for a few years. 2 of those years were in the Army in Germany. Came back in 56 and said, I've changed my major. I think I'll go back to Weatheford College, pick up a few courses, get straightened out. Went over there, lo and behold, I met a little blonde-headed gal there that just stole my heart. And guess what? We're still married after 57 years. So, Weatheford College was good for me then, and Dr. Eaton alluded to the fact that you can get the same thing here that you can in some of these more expensive colleges, and I found out that to be true. I spent 1 year at A&M, I believe it was fall of 53, and I had to study there, no harder than I had to study at Weatherford College. Made just as good a grades there as I made at Weatherford College. And I've always contended, if you want an education, you can get it, regardless. Every college that I know of has a library. So you can get an education if you really work at it. I appreciate this honor today. I kind of tease Brent that they might not have done a thorough enough investigation. You talk to some of those people in Mineola and say, how in the world did you ever choose that guy? But I stayed there almost 23 years before I gave up and started doing other things. Mr. Martin, I appreciate it. All the kind things you said about my family. And I agree with you. I was so fortunate to be born into that group. Thank you very much.
That's okay. Thank you, Dr. Knight. Yes, we're going to give you your trophy, and then you can head back and get your picture taken by Crystal Brown. Okay, our next distinguished alumna is Dr. Lisa Nash, and I'm excited to introduce a friend of mine, a guy who is one of my predecessors here, who worked here for many years at Weatherford College, and he's the CEO now of the Parker County Hospital District. Please welcome Mr. Randall Young.
Thank you, Brent. It's going to be real hard for me to talk about, and I am going to talk. I'm going to talk longer than Lisa will, I'm sure, or than Mr. Knight or probably anybody else, because I just get started and I can't stop. Brandon will tell you that. I came to work here in 1982. Dr. Metz called me away from a job with a savings and loan in College Park that Bob Glenn had helped me get. This room is about half full of former friends or current friends or old friends, old co-workers, not old, former co-workers. And I've got a story almost about every one of you, and so I don't have time, but I'd love to. I'd love to go into detail about some of the great things that I experienced when I was here at Weatherford College. Dr. Metz hired me to be Public Relations Director. Glenda Herbert had a little office right over here in a dark room. Crystal, back then, we'd take pictures, then we'd have to develop the film and then print the pictures. It's not as easy as it is now, but that's all we knew. And worked with wonderful people, and a lot of them are in this room today. Brad Tibbetts and Arlene Atkins, and the girls from the business office, Jeannie and Andra, and just everybody. Student services, Ralph Willingham, one of the greatest guys I've ever met in my life. It was just a wonderful time. From 82 to about 89, And I helped recruit, helped Bobby McKinley and Betty Jo a little bit in recruiting. I'd go on trips with them. Bobby and I went to Houston looking for basketball players. The girls seemed to just come to Betty Jo. She just got who she wanted. But I helped Dwayne Garrett with his recruiting for the band. He was jazz band director and student services director. We got to go to the Montreux Jazz Festival in 1986 and took the jazz band over there, and they played, opened for Dizzy Gillespie. David Fathead Newman played with them, and it was a wonderful time. It was a wonderful time. Miss Cody. The Codys were just two of my favorite people because one of them was going to make you laugh when you talked to them. I mean, you know, if you were around Sue or Bill, you were going to be laughing somewhere in the conversation. Just great people, and I had a good time talking with Sam in line today. One of the first people I should mention as being important is sitting right in front of me, Miss Dorothy Doss. Miss Doss, her name and her wonderful husband's name on this building and other things. Weatherford would not be Weatherford without the Dosses, and I'm proud to have you as a friend. Roy Joe, I've known him since I went to work here, and Roy Joe was always helpful, giving me the scoop and telling me, trying to keep me out of trouble, and I appreciate that. Been sitting over here with Max Rayfield, who was a chemistry professor at Weatherford College for years and years and years. And he could tell you a lot about Lisa Nash as a student. I only knew her as a member of the student body. She came here the same year I came here. She came from Brock. She was a very, at least around me, was a very serious. She thought about things before she said them. She was very active. We planned dances in this room. We'd have a DJ and a student dance, and they were very well attended. We never had any trouble with the kids. But Lisa was always helping with the organization of those things. And I enjoyed the year and a half or 2 years that I got to be around her a little bit. Didn't know that our paths would cross a couple more times. In 1994, I had left Weatherford College and gone to work for Campbell Hospital. And while I was at Campbell, a job opened up in West Texas in a little bitty town called Littlefield. Anybody besides Max and Lisa know where Littlefield is? You go to the middle of nowhere and you go another 40 miles, and that's Littlefield. The home of Waylon Jennings, by the way, that's their big claim to fame. Well, the job opened up. They have a wonderful little hospital there. It was not one of these old 50s hospitals. It was a hospital built in the 70s. And they had a doctor, a new doctor, but they had these two new doctors coming to Littlefield that were going to be, movers and shakers and going to really help us build that hospital back up. And I was offered the job there. And I thought, good opportunity. You got some new doctors coming to town. And I went to my first meeting, and Lisa Nash walks in with a physician named Tony Hedges and their partner, Dr. Rodriguez. And I was shocked because I didn't know Lisa had gone on to medical school after Weatherford College. I certainly didn't know that she was going to be one of, and I'm going to call them my doctors in Littlefield. So for the next 4 years, Lisa delivered a couple of hundred babies or assisted in a couple, 300 babies. We did babies, we did scopes, we did hernias, appendectomies. It was almost a full-service hospital. We couldn't do hearts and brains, but Lisa jumped right in there, and she was doing endoscopies and colonoscopies, and she was assisting our surgeon from Levelland, assisting with deliveries, and she had her own deliveries, and the women in the county loved her because she was the only woman physician for quite a ways. And I just enjoyed my time with her. Her patients loved her, the staff loved her, and I was sorry to see her gone. She was called to education, moved to Galveston in 1998, somewhere around there. I was very sad to see Lisa go. I left Littlefield in 2006 for the most wonderful job that I've ever had, and that's coming back to Weatherford. Because once you've been away from Weatherford and you're allowed to come back, you just don't. You just never forget it. It's a wonderful thing. Never been so happy. than to be offered the job. Bob Glenn was on the board that hired me, so Bob steps in again in my life. And then just about a year ago, David Orcutt, the CEO of Weatherford Regional, called me to a meeting and said, we're thinking about starting a residency program at Weatherford Regional. I said, oh, okay. You know, I had no business over there. They don't know me over there. David's my only friend in the hospital because I'm so old, nobody works there that I used to work with before. And he said, we got this wonderful doctor, educator, that's going to help us head it up. Her name is Lisa Nash. She's a Parker County resident. So for the third time in my life, Lisa Nash and I crossed paths again. I was so happy to hear that because I knew that the program in whatever form, whatever, you know, whether it was 4 residences or 4 residents or 40 residents, I knew it was going to be successful. I'm looking very forward to that program getting going at Weatherford Regional. I'm looking very forward to having Lisa Nash back in her home county. She's here with her parents today. And a funny thing, at the savings and loan where I worked, when I was offered this job at Weatherford College, I had a Nash working for me, one of your cousins. And so that's the great thing about a small town, a small county, a rural county. You know, I know half the people in here. I know I have met half the people on this alumni of the year list. I went down there and checked them off, the ones I had met. And Roy Joe, Roy Keaton, Jim Wright, Mr. Doss. One of my favorite interviews and one of my favorite trips I made when I worked here to Cleburne to interview Al Strickland. Some of you know Al Strickland, or knew Al Strickland, but he was the piano player for Bob Wells' Texas Playboys, a Weatherford College alumnus. He was a piano player in college when he came here. Wonderful man. Had a great interview with him down in Cleveland, took his picture, came back, the Democrat ran the article, and I just loved it. Went back to, I went to school at Baylor. I went back to Baylor for a reunion and ran into a guy that was a senior when I was a sophomore at Baylor, and his name is Al Strickland. And I walked up to him and I said, you know, I never thought that you shared a name with one of my favorite people. He went, who? And I said, Al Strickland, you know, the piano. He said, that's my dad. So, you know, it's a funny world. I want to tell you a little bit about Lisa, enough about the wonderful feelings that I have for this group, Weatherford, Parker County, and Weatherford College. Lisa Nash graduated from Brock High School in 1981. She attended Weatherford College from 82 to 85. She went to TCU after this, drove that Lamborghini for 2 years, graduated summa cum laude in 1987. She went to UNT Health Science Center in 1991, graduated with a Doctor of Osteopathy degree. She did her residence at Osteopathic Medical Center in Fort Worth, 91 to 92. She was a Harvard Macy Scholar in 2011 and 13. She got her master's degree in health professions education at Massachusetts General Hospital Institute for the Health Professions in 2013. She's currently Associate Dean for Educational Programs. She's an Associate Professor at UNT Health Science Center. She serves as Director of the Osteopathic Medical Education at Plaza Medical Center. From 2005 to 2010, she served as Director of Osteopathic Medication Education at UTMB in Galveston. She also served as the Residency Program Director. She's been Clinic Director at UTMB Family Medicine Center. She's been Associate Professor for the Department of Family Medicine at UTMB. As I said before, from 1994 to 98, she was Director of OB Services at Lamb Healthcare Center in Littlefield, Texas. She received a Top Doc designation in 2010 from the Best Doctors, Inc., a nation's polling company. So she finished in the top 5% of physicians in America. She received the Bronze Program Director Award from the Association of Family Medicine Residency Directors in 2008. And in 1995, she was named Outstanding Alumnus at Brock High School. She has made presentations at Harvard, at Denver, at Kazakhstan. I have a friend that lives in Kazakhstan, Moscow, and many other locations. She's currently serving on several boards at TCU, UTMB, and she's treasurer of the local Rotary Club in Littlefield for 3 years. That's a big deal to some of us. Here's what she says about, and I'm glad she's got Max Rayfield at her table. She said, Weatherford College, such good memories. Uncle Max Rayfield in chemistry was one of my favorite mentors. Weatherford College was a nice transition from high school to college for me. I had a great foundation for my advanced coursework. She hopes to work with Weatherford College on some of the things I was talking about earlier. We are excited to have her back in our community, and it gives me great honor and pleasure to introduce to you, as an Alumnus of the Year, Dr. Lisa Nash.
Randall's known me a long time. I was a little nervous when I heard he was going to introduce me because he could probably tell some stories so thank you for not doing that. But I know some stories too, so I didn't think you would misbehave too badly. The day that I got the email about this honor, I was really having one of those days at work. I was kind of aggravated. Things were just not going real well that day. And I want you to know that receiving the news about this honor really improved my entire day and the rest of the week. And so I just can't say how proud and honored I feel to be recognized today. I have my parents with me today, David and Barbara Nash. And continuing the theme from Dr. Knight, I would just also want to say that really owe a lot to my folks for making my brother and I both love learning, and probably even more important than that, to know that if we wanted to work hard enough, we could achieve whatever we set our minds to. And they really set that example for me. When Brent sent me an email, he asked about the award. He asked me if there was anyone in particular that I wanted to invite. And as you heard from my email that I sent back, I had to invite Uncle Max. My brother and I both took chemistry from Mr. Randall. He's one of our favorite professors. And as soon as I got back to Weatherford in 2010, I moved back up this way to take the job in Fort Worth. One of the first things I did was come back to campus and look for Mr. Randall. And of course, he had retired by that time, but I came back to look for him. And so I really appreciate you being here today too, and happy that you could come share this with me. Lastly, I'd like to just say a couple of things about my time here at Weatherford College. Really has been a wonderful experience for me. When you graduate from a high school where your class is 25 people, it's nice to have a little bit of a transition before you go to the big university. And so I had a wonderful experience here at Weatherford College. I actually started before I graduated high school and took a few courses at the end of my high school career, and then spent another year here full-time at Weatherford College. And TCU wasn't real sure about me when I was transferring over, so they only gave me 12-hour scholarship my first year there. So I actually dual enrolled. I spent half time at TCU and continued for another year here at Weatherford College, part-time both semesters. So I got to take both semesters of my general chemistry and both semesters of my organic chemistry with Mr. Randall. And that was a great start, gave me a great foundation for my really difficult coursework that followed at TCU and then later on at Texas College of Osteopathic Medicine. So thank you very much. Weatherford College set me on the right path, and I am very proud to have attended here at the beginning of my academic career. My mom will tell you that I have exceeded my allotment of graduations. When I enrolled for my education degree, my master's degree, she told me that was it. I was over the limit, she wasn't going. But I was able to get them to come today, so thanks, Mom and Dad. Thank you to the leadership and selection committee of the college. I'm really honored to be recognized today. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I'd like to invite now to honor another distinguished alumnus of Weatherford College, Mr. Don Plumlee, Mr. Joe Tison, who is a previous Alumnus of the Year Award winner here from Weatherford College and was also our interim president for a time here at WC. Please welcome Mr. Joe Tison.
Lisa, I don't know if you can hear me back there or not. You're not too young to have crossed my path in life. You just went to the wrong school district. Brock. But I've got CT and Wayne over here are my former students. And Bill Knight and I went to Weatherford College at the same time and even roomed together our first semester at North Texas. And Bill, it's going to be a shock to you, but I'm also working on a book. But it's a lot different than that one. I have been giving a lot of thought, and it's what I'm only sharing this with you because it's centered around how I'm going to introduce Don Plumlee. I've heard the word path used a lot here today, or the word journey used a lot here today. Every one of you from the day you were born have taken a journey in life that came across lots of places and a lot of people that made a difference. For many of you, Weatherford College was one of those stops in that journey of life that if you had not come here, you may not be who you are today. For me, it certainly was a popular journey for me because sitting on the steps of the old gym down on South Main one day, I looked up. I'd been noticing this cheerleading group that kept coming in to practice just before basketball every day, and I didn't have a girlfriend and I was looking hard. And looked over and this young lady kept coming and I didn't have enough nerve to ask anybody for a date, but I finally got enough nerve, and we will be celebrating our 56th this year after knowing each other for 59 years. And not only that, but had that not happened, and I want you all to think about this as we use the word journey. If I had not come to Weatherford College, I would not have met Patsy. We would not have had our 3 wonderful children and our 2 great-grandchildren. All of you have these same kinds of stories. My point in looking at how to put this into writing is to encourage every one of you to take notes of that journey and share it with those who follow you. Otherwise, they'll never know a lot of the things they wish that they had. I happen to be talking about the journey of Don Plumlee for a reason. Don's journey began, and I think it's quite interesting in a parallel to so many things that I've been hearing from the rest of you today, but his began when he and his twin brother, Ron, were born in their parents' home on October 9, 1941. The path that each of those twin brothers took was somewhat similar until they both went to Peaster schools. They both graduated from Peaster High School. They were both honored graduates. Ronald was the brain. He was the valedictorian. Don was the lesser brain. He was the salutatorian. Both played basketball for Peaster. Both played 2 years at Weatherford College. Both played at Wayland Baptist College. And according to Don, though, that's where the journeys begin to take somewhat of a different path, because Don shared that although Ron was the valedictorian, he was the leading scorer in basketball of the 2. Ron scored 25 points, Don told me, in a game one time and never missed a shot. But Don had to also tell me he was the leading scorer in that game with 32 points. Ron only had 25. Both would have been here today on this special day to recognize Don. However, Ron was coming, lives in Big Springs. I always seem to forget where that is, but somewhere out there, close to Littlefield, isn't it? Yeah, okay. But Ron had a health problem, and I know if it was at all possible, he would have been here today with his twin brother. And if he were here today, I'm pretty sure he would have shared with all of us that he had the brains and Don had the brawn. As with all of our lives, the journeys of these two twins, however, did take separate roads after they both got out of Wayland College. But only for a short time, they stayed together. Although Don's being recognized today, I want to make it very clear in all the conversations that he and I have had, that in his heart, he is sharing this honor with his twin brother, Randall. As we follow Don's journey, consider again reflecting on your own and the importance of individuals at Weatherford College who have crossed your path in your journey in life. After graduating from Wayland College with a major in math and a minor in biology, Don's first priority was to find someone to take care of him because he knew he and Ron couldn't stay together forever. So he met Frances Lee Fran at Wayland, and they both became engaged. Fortunately for Fran, Don got a job after he graduated from college and began his teaching career in the Crest Independent School District as a math, science, and girls PE teacher. But guess who also got a job at the same time at Crest in the Crest School District? His brother, Ron, who I believe he said was girls basketball coach. So they're still together in this journey of life. On Christmas break that first year, Don and Fran married on December 25th, 1965, Christmas Day in Littlefield, Texas. In 1969, they moved to Amarillo, where Don taught junior high math. And not long after their arrival in Amarillo, their first child was born, Donald Gene Plumlee Jr. Donald Gene Jr. is now chair and associate professor in the Department of Mechanical and Biomedical Engineering at Boise State University. Don continued his teaching career in Amarillo, moving to Amarillo High School in 1973. With all of his mathematics, he finally calculated that he and Fran needed a second child, so Amy Colette Plumlee was born on March 19, 1974. Amy is the wife of a lieutenant colonel in the Marines. They both live in Fairfax, Virginia, where he is on special assignment. Soon after that, Don was promoted to assistant principal at Sam Houston Junior High in Amarillo and subsequently would earn his master's degree in mid-management from West Texas State University, which he always says is really now Texas A&M in Canyon. He bleeds Aggie stuff. Amarillo ISD continued to recognize this Parker County boy's talents as he continued to be promoted to the positions of principal at Amarillo Paladura High School and to the central office staff in that district. Don retired with 31 years teaching service and a total of 33 in education in that profession. Now, people often wondered, how did he retire in 32 with 31 years with 33 to calculate toward retirement? Well, because he and his twin brother, Ron, shared driving a school bus while they attended Peaster High School. And back then, you used to get credit for driving school buses. I'm sure Ron claimed his too. Did he, Ron? During the 27 years that they lived in Amarillo, this public servant and his wife were active members of the Polk Street Methodist Church, where he served as a youth counselor and once accompanied the youth there on a mission trip to Nome, Alaska. Don was very active in the education profession. He was a member of the Region 16 Texas State Teachers Association, a lifetime member of the Parent Teacher Association, and a member of the Lions Club. Don has not slowed down since his retirement. They moved to Parker County in 1996 and built a home across the road from land where he and Ron grew up, but still own Plumlee land. Why I am up here introducing Don, I think it's just because our paths crossed. And in I don't know what it was, I happened to go to a retired teacher meeting for Parker County retired teachers. I think Patsy must have made me go, I don't have a clue. I installed officers, that's what it was.
I came to install officers. And I said to myself, as I looked over that bunch of old people that day, I never want to be a member of this organization. They had limited term for their presidents. Don has done such a good job, they couldn't get anybody to take his place. Lo and behold, I got a call one night from a lady, and she caught me at one of my weakest, lowest moments in life. And I said, no, yes, that I would go ahead and take that job. And Don Plumlee became a very close friend and supporter and helper, and actually was continuing his status as president because I asked him every month, what am I supposed to do next, Don? And he helped me through this so much of the way. It was a job I didn't seek or want, but had I not taken it in that path in life, his path and mine would not have crossed. Needless to say that it's a friendship that's lasting. It's taken Patsy and I to vacation places that we could have only dreamed about. And needless to say, because of that, Don and Fran have become United States and world travelers. He continues to serve the Texas Retired Teacher Association. He is the District 11 treasurer of that group. In 2012, guess who the Peace Direct students and teacher organization decided would be their educators of the year? Donald and Ronald Plumlee. Don and Fran have 5 grandchildren, and part of their U.S. travels always include the opportunities to share their love with their kids and their grandkids. One thing I have to add, beyond being a Baptist, I guess you were a Baptist when you were in Wayland College, and a Methodist in Amarillo, and when he returned to Weatherford, I'm proud to say that Patsy and I finally made Christians out of them when they recently became members of the Central Christian Church. And one other thing that I'm glad to get over with today, in one of our journeys, we were in Billings, Montana, having dinner one evening. Don wore this Weatherford College basketball cap everywhere he went. He is a person who promotes Weatherford College to everyone. So that on 3,800 driving miles, that cap was shown to a lot of people. I have never heard so much whining when we drove out of town the next day. He couldn't remember what he had done with that cap. Oh, no. He worried about it the whole trip. You got to look at his head and wonder why. This is why he has to have a cap. Every time he gets out, he's got to have something to cover the sun. He finally remembered he left it in that restaurant in Billings, Montana. As you come up today, I want you to get over whining. Let's congratulate Don Plumlee.
Hey, there you go. Good going, Joe.
That fellow knows how to put a shine on an old boot better than anybody I know. I kind of identify with some of the remarks that Dr. Knight made about the peaches. I had a similar incident with pears that I had to return to the proper owner, me and my twin brother. We thought we was doing something good, but it turned out we were stealing. And my parents made us go by and apologize and asked the guy if he was normally picking those pears up on an abandoned hillside. He said, "Why, certainly I do." So we gave him those pears. About the only way I can identify with Dr. Nash is on the other end of a colonoscopy. I have a longtime friend that's with me today. His name is Roy David Hudson. Glad to have Roy here with us. And I won't go ahead and introduce Joe and Patsy because everybody knows them anyhow. But my wife, Fran, I met her at Wayland College. December the 25th will be 50 years ago. So we're looking for another many years together because we enjoy the traveling. David is doing the things that he enjoys doing. When he retired, he got back into the cattle business and the horse business, and he's really reaping the rewards. He took some cows to market, and then I think got some more to take. $3 a pound for those calves. So they were good calves at a good price. And if you've been in the cattle business very long, you know that that is paying off now for you. I treasure my memories of Weatherford College, going back when my uncle, Archie Stevens, who is a 36 graduate of Weatherford College, told me to get off of his tractor, get in his pickup, and go register for school. I guess I was not planning on doing so. So I got off the tractor, his tractor. We were planting oats around the Labor Day weekend, and went and got my twin brother and told him that Archie told us that we need to go register for school. So we did. And then when we got back home, it suddenly realized, how are we going to get there? We live 10 miles out of town, and we were like some of the rest of you, we were poor. We spelled that with 4 O's. And so it became a family discussion, and a family decision was made. He and I were the only ones still at home. There's 7 of us. So you can see why my parents could not afford to send us to school, hardly even encourage us to go. So they decided that we couldn't buy another car, couldn't afford an apartment, but maybe we could just move into town. So they never had lived in town. Moved in on Josephine Street, about 2 blocks from the college. So we were able to walk to school every day. Soon got us a paper route with the old Fort Worth Press and earned some money to get through school. So I've kind of come around in a complete circle. I'm back on my old tractor, not an old tractor, but a tractor, doing what I want to do out there on family property out north of town. I'm very grateful for the opportunity that Weatherford College has provided me. I'd like to thank the administration and the staff for continuing to provide an opportunity for folks like me to get through their education and become a contributor to society. I'd like to thank the leadership for this, for the leadership of this college during hard times. We've had some hard times in the past few years, and they have continued to grow throughout the whole thing. So thank you very much.
Paid his tuition with a paper route. Did you do that today? I don't know if you could or not. That's amazing. Thank you very much, Don. Thank you, Joe, as well. It's time to introduce our 2015 Alumnus of the Year. And I would like to invite the following people to please stand. Mr. Roy Grogan, Mr. Joe Tison, Ms. Ruth Husey, Mr. Bob Glenn, Mrs. Dorothy Doss, Mrs. Mildred Beard, and Mr. Tom Pritchard, former winners of the Alumnus of the Year. Thank you for being here. And now to introduce our Alumnus of the Year, who is Wayne Garrett, is a man who stood at this podium just last year to be recognized as our distinguished alumnus from the class of 1968. Please welcome Gary Snow.
I firmly believe what Joe was talking about, that people's paths cross for a reason, and through all the journeys that you make, those also happen for a reason. That's happened many, many times in my life, and I've been very, very fortunate on the various occurrences in my life. As I read through Wayne Garrett's resume, something just really popped out to me. Something just jumped out real, real big. That there's so many things that Wayne has done, and both of us kind of parallel in a lot of areas. He was born in a small town west of here, Anson, Texas. I was born in a small town back then, Weatherford, Texas. Wayne came back to Weatherford, or came to Weatherford. He got his first job on North Main, down at Dillard's Feed and Seed. I worked on South Main at Larman Stove's Gulf Station. Wayne graduated from Weatherford High School, same here. We both attended and graduated from Weatherford College. Wayne went to Texas Wesleyan. He graduated with honors. I survived the University of Texas. We both have our CPA license. We both have securities and insurance licenses. Wayne went on and became a certified financial planner. Wayne, when he got out of college, worked for a large regional firm in Fort Worth. I worked for a large national firm down in Houston for about 4 or 5 years, both the same there. Another thing that we've both done in our life is community involvement. That's one big thing that we're both big fans of, and we promote that in our firm and in our lives. Wayne has been a member of the Weatherford Chamber of Commerce, past president, still very active in that. Wayne has been on the Weatherford City Council, also on the Municipal Utility Board. Wayne was a member of the Weatherford Optimist Club, there again, past president. We both were members of the Weatherford Noon and Evening Lions Club, where we both have served as president. Wayne is one of the founding members of the Weatherford Educational Foundation, still very active there. Wayne is also very, very active in his church, Northside Baptist Church. He's served many years as trustees, deacon, teach Sunday school, and so forth. I'm also very, very active in the Grace First Presbyterian Church. Wayne has been married for probably about 40 years, close to 40 years now, to Sharon. And I've been married to Linda. I asked her this morning. She said a very long time. We both have 2 fantastic kids, Heather and Brandon. I have Wesley and Sharon. So very many things are very common in our life. I didn't realize that until I started going down this. When I first came back to Weatherford, as I mentioned, from Houston, I knew that eventually I wanted to start my own practice. I was too young to be afraid. I was too young to be concerned about any failure, but I knew I had the support of my family that would continue me on. About 2 years after that, I met Wayne. And I could just tell by looking at him, looking at his eyes and so forth. I don't know if it was excitement or fear, but there again, we took off. And as of now, we've been together about 35 years. Wayne has been my partner for that many years, but Wayne has also been my close friend for that many years. And being a business partner with someone it's kind of like a marriage. You know, every day is not perfect. You have your disagreements, and Wayne and I have had our disagreements, but when we walked out of that room at the end of the day, I knew that we'd made the best decision that we could. We're very fortunate to talk about paths crossing. Kathy Williams joined us back, became a partner in 2003, and much like Wayne and I, she has some of the same traits. She grew up in a small town. She went to a 4-year junior college, Texas A&M. She has had a long-term marriage with her husband, Jeff. She's has 3 wonderful kids. And also, Kathy is very, very involved in community activities. Wayne, I'd like to thank you for being my mentor. I'd like to thank you for being my partner. And more importantly, I'd like to thank you for being my good friend. And now I'd like to present the 2015 Weatheford College Alumni of the Year, David Wayne Garrett.
Thank you very much. You know, as several have said, we cross paths for reasons, and I truly believe that. And some of you have stolen away from things I was planning on saying. I just want to say one thing first, though, before I forget it. One of the highlights of being a Lion is not meeting the meetings when Randall Young does an induction. It's called an inducement. He shows up in medical garb, gloves up, has a bedpan, Phillips magnesia, rusty knife, you don't know what all he does, and he's going to do an inducement. You need to work on him. You're not through. I'm telling you what, I'm worried about David, you need to be worried if that's the training group. It's a loss. But anyway, it's always fun. It's always fun to see all of you too. And I say we do cross paths. And I start naming names I want to miss because, like Randall said, over half of you here I've crossed paths with you, and all for reasons. My elementary school principal, Mr. Vandergriff, is here. My junior high principal is being influenced on me, and so many of you have crossed our paths over time. But Weathford College was a big thing for me. I needed it. I come from a family, a very good family, but a poor family, like some of the others have mentioned. I could not afford to go to college if it had not been for Weatherford. And I came here and I also worked at the same time, worked about 30 hours a week, able to save up enough money that I could go on and pay for the rest of my college from that. And now I think about this room that I'm in right now. So many wonderful times and relationships too. Even though I worked so much and studied real hard and all these other things that's going on, I also managed my time where I'd have some fun. And how many of you remember the foosball table back in the back? Or remember when the very first game that we came out with? I think it was one of the first games. Jeannie, you remember Pong? Just playing Pong at the student breaks. And how archaic was that? You sat there, and we would just play that for hours. I think the second graders now would laugh at us. But anyway, it was great times, a time to make friends. And some of these people that I met at Weathford College have become lifetime friends. Matter of fact, I'll be seeing one of them next week, and I'm going on a little trip with some guys, and several of them are from Weathford College, and we're going to take a little golfing vacation. Which I'm a bad golfer. Bob Glenn talks about what a bad golfer I am, but if I play enough holes, maybe I can not whip the ball every time. But I just say that the other thing that Weathford College did for me is I had one of my, first of all, the education, the level of experience I got here was second to none. The instructors were all very good. They all took a personal interest in us as students, I think, which is a lot different from many places you go to. And I remember one day, about the third or fourth week of my freshman year, one of the instructors said, "Mr. Garrett, I want to talk to you after class." And I said, "Oh man, this is not going to be good." I didn't know what this was going to be about. And she pulled me aside and says, "You have the ability do something really wonderful in your life. You got to decide, are you going to just kind of plod along, or are you going to crank it up? Are you going to become passionate about learning, about always learning every day? Even if the only thing you learn that day is what mistake did I make today, and I'm not going to make that same mistake tomorrow. Whatever it is, you learn something every day. You always give back, and you always try harder than the next guy. If you'll do that, you will be amazed what's going to happen in life. How could I ever pay for that, the cost of the tuition for that one class? That was the most valuable thing that anybody could ever told me. And after that, it's kind of like you turned the engine on, and I cranked up and didn't look back after that. And it was because a professor at this little college cared enough to stop, pull me aside, and encourage me. And so Dr. Eaton, I would say, I looked at your mission statement last night, just studying about the college, and it's the mission vision is enhance the students in the community. And so we all should have that responsibility to enhance and encourage and help people to lift themselves up and help them to see the opportunities that's ahead of them. So I'd say a couple other things I will remember about Weathford College is we had some more fun times here. We'd have the student dances and we would play cards and breaks and sometimes just sit and talk. But I'll tell you one of the things I remember the most. I'm gonna get in trouble with my wife for this, but I gotta tell you this story. In 1974, do you remember where we were socially? Vietnam War was ending. It was kind of a rebellious time. And got out of high school, all the girls wore mini skirts. And where is the windiest place in town? Up on the hill. 18, 19-year-old guy, it was fun time. So it was, but I truly met some great friends, and I think we crossed our paths for reasons. And some of the instructors, I know that my accounting professor that was also Gary's, Mr. Glenn Westenhuber, has a reputation. If you can make an A in this class and do well, you've got what it takes to go on. And we see each other every couple of weeks or so. He always he asked me, he said, you keeping up with the taxes? He says, yeah, but he said, debit's on the left and credit's on the right, isn't that right? He said, as long as they don't change where the window is. And so I said, you never told me, I'm still upset, you never told me how difficult, how much work it would be to be a CPA. And he just grins and chuckles and said, you figured it out though, didn't you? So, but anyway, I just say we cross our paths for reasons. In Weathford College, I'm so glad I walked in the doors here. And without that, my life would be totally different. And indeed, when Brent called me and told me about the award selection, I was totally taken back, shocked a little bit by it, surprised and awe. If you look at this long list of people, that educators and doctors and general and civic servants and philanthropists, and all these great people, many of you who are in the room today, I'm truly honored. It's a legacy for my family, and I thank you very much.
Well, I thought they did great, don't you?
Yeah.